Good news, everyone. The Premier League is back tomorrow and there's loads of football coming up, man. It's going to be wicked. Lots and lots of games. This international break has been the longest one yet. Very excited. Can't wait to get back into it. Bad news, everyone. Cole Palmer's never going to play football ever again, is he? It's just... Welcome, Blue Believers, to another episode of the Stamford Sync, where we are syncing up with everything Chelsea FC. And today, today that means we can get a little bit excited about the fact that football's coming back tomorrow, but we've got some annoying things to talk about. There's good and bad, and... some questions to be asked about the goalkeeper situation, right? The goalkeeper situation, which has been a hot topic for Chelsea fans for a long time. But guys, before we get into it, if you're enjoying the content and would like to see more, please do me the distinct honour of liking and sharing the video, subscribe to the channel, or just roast me in the comments, whatever gets you through your day. Right, so Cole Palmer. We'll talk about Cole Palmer. Cole Palmer had already been ruled out for the Burnley game, saying that he'd had a little bit of a setback and he was potentially going to feature in the Barcelona game and then potentially in the Arsenal game. Okay, cool. Do you know what I mean? I would like to have seen him get some minutes in the Burnley game, but ultimately he was coming back soon. Great, yes, wicked. Our best player on the pitch again. Can't wait to see it. And then... This is nuts, man. So Maresca has obviously done the press conference for the Burnley game tomorrow, and he has announced that Cole Palmer has broken his toe, one of his small toes, in what they are calling a freak accident at home. Mate, like, I was hyperbolic in the intro when I said he's never going to play football again. Of course he is, but he has now been ruled out for the Burnley game, which we already knew, but also the Barcelona and the Arsenal game. So we're not going to see him for another few weeks. We're going to be without him for, the first kind of half of this festive fixture of many, many, many games that we've got coming up, which is irritating, right? But he's close to coming back, and I guess it's more time to recover from the groin thing as well. I don't even know if that's a thing. I'm just much amounts of copium and hopium from my part, hoping that we see Cole Palmer on the pitch at his best when he comes back. Just irritating, man, isn't it? At the end of the day, it's just irritating. I'm so desperate to see Cole Palmer on the pitch again. And the thing is, the team's been doing pretty well without him, right? The team has been doing pretty well without him, but that magic that he brings to the pitch, man. It's not even just about winning games. It's just about watching an unbelievable footballer do his thing, the actual entertainment factor of football. We've had a bit of that with Esteval, but a lot of the games that we've played since Cole Palmer has been out has been a bit stodgy and sometimes a bit difficult to watch. And sometimes we scored loads of goals and sometimes we've conceded loads of goals. But there's just never really been that guy, like I say, other than Esteval, who's doing it in spits and spots. We haven't really got that other player in the team that gets you off your seat at the moment, have we? So... okay, we're going to have to put the kibosh on the imminent return of Cole Palmer for the immediate future. But like I say, ultimately, if that means that he's going to come back better, stronger, whatever, without a broken toe from a freak accident at home, then fair enough, that will just be what it will be. And we've got some other players to talk about pertaining to their availability for tomorrow's game. And one player, interestingly, that there's been some news about as well. So we are expecting to see Badiashile, Enzo Fernandez and Pedro Neto at the very least available for the game tomorrow. I don't suppose Badiashile will start. That feels like it would be an unusual one based on how consistent we've been recently with Fofana and Chalobah. And yes, I know we've got more games coming up, but it would be good for them to get a game under their belt before throwing them into the Barcelona game, right? That kind of makes sense to me. So maybe Badiashile comes on as a sub, but it potentially is going to be in the squad tomorrow. So that's a good thing, right? Badiashile offers us something different from the rest of the centre-backs. He's, that obviously he's left-footed, which is really important. He's also got a pretty lovely pass on him, man. Last time Badiashile played was in the Liverpool game, and he kept just finding Garnacho out on that left-hand side with these really nice passes. So that's something a little bit different he offers than the likes of Chalobah or Fofana, for instance, because he's kind of on that left side. Enzo Fernandez and Pedro Neto are good news in particular because they were... obviously, they pulled out of the internationals, didn't they? They were both picked for their respective international teams in Argentina and Portugal, but both decided to not go. Enzo Fernandez, because he's still been recovering from his synovitis, which is the dodgy knee, essentially. He's got a dodgy knee, hasn't he? Pedro Neto asked to come off in the Wolves game because he was not feeling good, and pulled himself out of that, but they've spent this last couple of weeks recovering and should be available for tomorrow's game. I kind of expect to see them both in the starting 11, to be honest. I think it would be silly to throw out a heavily rotated team at Burnley tomorrow. I think that probably will not do us any favours. I think, yes, okay, maybe there will be some rotation, but I think for the most part we need to see some first teamers, especially the likes of Enzo Fernandez and Neto, who just need some minutes, man. Do you know what I mean? They obviously didn't play during the international break, which is good, but get them some minutes, a little bit of form leading into the next two absolutely massive games we've got after Burnley in Barcelona and Arsenal. So, that's what I think about that. Moises Caicedo is back and played both games with Ecuador over the international break, so I wouldn't expect to see him rested tomorrow, being that our midfield depth is still in the absolute bin. But yeah, I expect to see him in tomorrow's game as well. Now, the interesting thing, I say interesting thing, but I found this quite interesting. Maresca also spoke a little bit about Axel Disasi. So I I need to stop saying that word. I don't report, I speculate, because I'm a YouTuber, not a reporter. But we did a video. We did a video like a week or so ago about Axel Disasi and rumours that he might be returning to the team because he was spotted training with the first team and he'd featured for the under-21s recently. Maresca has basically come out and said, nope, that's not going to happen, which I don't think is a bad thing. I don't think we need to, unless we're bringing new players in that we actually are going to play a lot, I don't think throwing Disasi back into the squad would have been a great idea anyway. I think he did well for the under-21s and had one training session with the first team, but Maresca has said, no, Axel Disasi, yes, he's a Chelsea player, but he is specifically just training with the second team and helping the second team at the moment. I expect Axel Disasi to be sold in January, to be completely honest. If we can find a buyer, we're going to lose money on him at the end of the day, but getting his wages off the books is one thing, and it will be money that goes into the transfer pot one way or the other. And if we want to make any other defensive signings, which I'll be doing another video about, because there is one particular target that Chelsea are looking at the moment, which might annoy Crystal Palace a little bit, but that's very interesting, but I'll talk about that in another video. But yeah, Axel Disasi not going to be part of the first team, and Axel Disasi, like I say, I just expect him to see him be sold. So, the squad is looking pretty full and thick tomorrow for the Burnley game. Do you know what I mean? We're not going to have Cole Palmer, but everyone else seems to be available. Do you know what I mean? Delap's available, Pedro's available, Esteval's available. I'm still not convinced he'll get the start. Neto's available, Garnacho and the wingers, and Andre Santos and Cucurella, Reece James, Malagusto, all of them seem to be available. Malagusto had a really, really good time with France. He got a couple of assists, which is awesome. Reece James also played really well for England. Absolutely love that. So minus Cole Palmer, everyone else seems to be back and available. Yes, wicked. Absolutely love that. So I'm going to move on to the last story of the day, and we are going to talk about Filip Jorgensen and the goalkeeper situation. The goalkeeper situation has, as I said at the beginning of the video, been a point of contention for Chelsea fans for a really long time, and this could be about to make things complicated a little bit, right? So we bought Filip Jorgensen start of last season. And, there's lots, he's very young. He's only like 23 years old and maybe nearly 24, something like that. Lots and lots of potential. Chelsea rate him really highly and think he could develop into a really good goalkeeper. Cool. One thing Filip Jorgensen has taught me is you can't have a middle stage goalkeeper as your backup goalkeeper. It either needs to be a youth product that doesn't mind playing, or an old experienced head like a Willy Caballero, a Mark Schwarzer, or a Marcus Bettinelli, for instance, who also doesn't mind playing, but that's the better option because they've got that kind of experience, right? That's really, really important. What you shouldn't have is a young goalkeeper that's just played a full season at his club, and then you pull him in, and so he got 24 appearances last season, and a lot of those were due to Robert Sanchez being dropped. So far, he's only made 4 appearances this season, right? So, and the thing is, I particularly have been quite critical and pretty harsh on Filip Jorgensen because he's not been good enough. Absolutely true. But at the same time, in his defence, he's not playing. A young keeper, and he's ready to play first-team football for the right club. Do you know what I mean? So he needs to play and develop to get games. We can't just expect to throw him in when Robert Sanchez gets sent off, or give him the odd cursory performance against the likes of an Ajax or a Lincoln and expect that to be enough for him to get minutes, get form, develop and get better as a goalkeeper, right? Because getting minutes is so important. And you don't sub goalkeepers off in general. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, the Robert Sanchez thing was a bit of a freak accident. But yeah, you don't generally sub goalkeepers off. So I feel bad for Filip Jorgensen because he needs to be getting first team football But also, I don't think he's good enough to challenge Robert Sanchez for the first team at the moment. And if you're not good enough to challenge Robert Sanchez, you're nowhere near good enough to be the goalkeeper for Chelsea. So, Jorgensen has come out and indicated that he wants a January transfer move. What hasn't been specified is about whether it be a loan or a sale. I imagine he just wants a sale because he just wants to go and get into a team and play somewhere. And ultimately for him, he's got not one eye, he's got both eyes and every orifice of his body directly pointed at the World Cup. Kasper Schmeichel has come under fire for lackluster performances in the Denmark team recently, and Filip Jorgensen is their next best option. Filip Jorgensen wants to be on that plane, he wants to go to America, he wants to play in the World Cup, and he's got a good chance of it, to be completely honest. Kasper Schmeichel was amazing in his heyday, but apparently not playing very well at the moment. So Filip Jorgensen is seeing that opportunity and he's like, I can't go another half of the season and get 8 to 10 games in an entire season. Do you know what I mean? That's not going to be enough. And even if he does get picked for the World Cup, he's not going to be on form and he's probably quite unlikely to play. Even if Kasper Schmeichel isn't doing particularly well, if he plays for the rest of the season, he's already going to be in front of Filip Jorgensen in terms of what the manager wants in his goalkeeper, because experience, form, readiness, whatever, match minutes. So it is a complicated situation we find ourselves in with the goalkeeping situation. Rob Sanchez, as of right now, unquestionably Chelsea's number one. Filip Jorgensen has not performed well in any of the games he's played this season. Do you know what I mean? We haven't looked at him. He's not as anxiety-inducing as a Robert Sanchez is. He's just not as technically good, and we need. It's like I said, I've said this before. We've been gaslit into the Robert Sanchez situation because for some reason he happens to be the best goalkeeper we've got, and I don't feel comfortable with it. I've said it a few times. I don't want to see Filip Jorgensen on the pitch again. So it's difficult, isn't it? Because what would happen if we sell Filip Jorgensen or even give him a loan? Then who is our backup keeper? What we do need is a backup keeper. And what this really highlights to me is what an absolute moronic move selling Marcus Bettinelli to City was. Do you know what I mean? It's like, this is Marcus Bettinelli's moment, man. Do you remember when Willy Caballero was our backup goalkeeper? He got games, man. He got games. Do you know what I mean? And he was okay with not playing all the time. Marcus Bettinelli would be getting games at the moment, and I would rate him better than Filip Jorgensen. We've got Gaga Slonina. The other option that's been talked about is, we could potentially recall Mike Penders from Strasbourg in January, but we don't want to do that. Do you know what I mean? He's smashing it out there at the moment. He's having a great season. We can't then bring him back to be like, you might play 5 games in the League Cup, the FA Cup, and, a couple of relegation-threatened Premier League teams throughout the rest of the season, when he's played every single game for Strasbourg this season. He's doing really, really, really well. Bringing Mike Penders back, to me, is like a massive no-no. Don't do it. Leave him out there. But we've got Gaga Slonina as our other option, and I've never seen him play. Do you know what I mean? So it's a bit. He is profile-wise, not about his actual ability, but profile-wise, makes more sense than Jorgensen, because he's not spent loads of time playing first team football at a reasonably high level. Obviously, Filip Jorgensen came from Spain. I think it was Villarreal. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But either way, Gaga Slonina would be okay with only playing cursory minutes because he was bought. He's been in the youth academy and a backup keeper, and he's not been getting much game time anyway. No one's been coming in for him in like transfers or loans or whatever. So it makes sense to say, well, we've got Gaga Slonina. But the truth of the fact is, he could be worse than Filip Jorgensen, and we still want to try this season. Do you know what I mean? We're not just throwing in the towel. And if Robert Sanchez gets sent off again, or picks up an injury, or has a patchy spell of form, which every season we've had Robert Sanchez so far, he's been dropped at some point for poor performances. Hasn't happened yet, but it could. Do you know what I mean? It could. So we can't just not have a decent backup goalkeeper. What are our options? Gaga Slonina, Mike Maignan, January, throw a couple of quid at Milan because he's only got 6 months left on his deal anyway. Yeah, maybe, but that creates a whole thing in itself, because then halfway through a season, you're bringing in Mike Maignan, and that's not to be a backup goalkeeper, that's to fight for the number 1 spot, and arguably he's much better than Robert Sanchez, and Robert Sanchez then maybe gets dropped, and that causes... Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's actually really complicated, and we've backed ourselves into this corner. Well, I say we, not the fans, do you know what I mean? Blueco, the ownership, the Avengers, a lot of sporting directors have backed us into this corner with the goalkeeping situation where you can't really just keep Filip Jorgensen at this point, because that's savage, man. Do you know what I mean? That's savage. Like, you could say, look, we need you. You're not going anywhere. That is not a wholly unreasonable thing from Chelsea's side. But Filip Jorgensen will probably miss out on the World Cup, and if he doesn't play for the rest of the season, and essentially spend a whole another year barely getting game time and halting his development. And from what I've seen, apparently the ball is kind of in Jorgensen's camp. I don't know if someone's going to come in and buy him. That's the thing. We paid 20 mil for him. What I promise you right now is he's not going for less than what we bought him for, and they'll want to make a profit on him. If he wants to be sold, then we'll have to get 30, 35 mil for him. And is someone going to pay that for Filip Jorgensen? I don't know. So that leaves the loan option, which feels more likely, doesn't it? It does feel a little bit more likely that Jorgensen will end up with a loan. But then, like I say, okay, Jorgensen gets a loan. Okay, cool, wicked. Like West Ham or Aston Villa or back to Spain or something, plays a lot of football, gets in the World Cup. Good for him. But then that leaves Chelsea in a situation where we actually have to allocate funds in January to a goalkeeper, which wasn't necessarily something we were planning on doing. Like I say, there's been some talk about a centre-back, which I will talk about in another video. But ultimately, it's just a bit sticky, man. It just leaves us in a bit of a sticky situation, doesn't it? So, bit of an annoying one here. Like I say, we've been backed into a bit of a corner with the goalkeeping situation, and what I think we have to learn from this is our backup goalkeeper, like the goalkeeping situation, can't be what it is profile-wise going forward. You can't have a number one and a number two, because Sanchez is a relatively young goalkeeper as well. It's not like Sanchez is like 32, 33 and getting to that point where, do you know what I mean? It's like we're looking for a slightly younger goalkeeper. Sanchez is like 25 years old, do you know what I mean? It's not like he's ready to put out to pasture or whatever. So, for instance, the last time we had two goalkeepers that battled for a spot was, Edouard Mendy battled with someone, can't remember who that actually was, but he won that battle and then subsequently lost it. And obviously before that, we had Cech and Courtois ended up winning that battle. Do you know what I mean? But Cech was getting on a bit towards the end of his career. Courtois was up and coming, young goalkeeper with lots of ability, talent and technique. And it was, it made sense then. Now it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to make Jorgensen fight for a spot against Sanchez when he's not as good and he still needs time to develop. So this, the young profile of player has kind of hit us quite hard with the goalkeeping thing here. We need a third goalkeeper that's experienced. Like I said, we've had some amazing ones, man. We had Asmir Begovic. We got him from Stoke. Like I say, Mark Schwarzer was great. Willy Caballero was great. And we've had that goalkeeper for a long time. Do you know what I mean? That backup goalkeeper. And Marcus Bettinelli did a fantastic, although he barely ever played, if ever. Do you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, he was there and available as and when he was needed. And we don't have that anymore. We don't have that backup experienced goalkeeper that is just happy to train and be experienced and help the boys develop and stuff, but isn't bothered about not, playing every game and understands that he's not going to fight for a first team spot. Filip Jorgensen is not good enough to battle Rob Sanchez for a first team spot, and he's not going to get that experience just by training and getting the odd cursory game, in which every single time so far this season he's been kind of terrible. So tough one, man. Tough one. Really difficult one. Feel bad for Jorgensen. I think the right thing to do is to at least get him a loan, because it's a World Cup year and that's absolutely massive. Do you know what I mean? It's absolutely massive. It would be savage for Chelsea to be like, well, we need you to play 4 games a season or 10 games a season or whatever, even though this is an opportunity of a lifetime to play for you and represent your country. That's that would be kind of savage, wouldn't it? And I don't think we should be seen to be doing that. Jorgensen hasn't really done anything wrong apart from not be good enough. Do you know what I mean? And that's, like I say, for me, that kind of falls more to the structure that we've kind of put him in rather than the goalkeeper himself. He needs to go out there, get minutes, and maybe he can develop into a better goalkeeper. So that's it, guys. I'm going to wrap it up there. Big rant about the goalkeeping situation. Now, I'd love to know what you guys think about it. Do you think we should just keep him? Do you think we should just be like, no, you're not going anywhere, we need you? Do you think that it's unfair, kind of like I do, and I'm like, it's a World Cup year, he's got an opportunity to get into that team because Kasper Schmeichel not doing so well? And yeah, I just find it a bit of a tricky one, man, but I would love to know what you guys think about it. So it's time to wrap up to today's video and set our sights firmly on tomorrow's game against Burnley in the Premier League, which I'm really looking forward to because the football's back. Yay! Kyle Palmer's broken his toe. Rubbish, but the football's back. Wicked. I do expect us to win tomorrow. I do expect it to be a tough game. Guys, thank you very much for sticking around until the end of the video if you did. If you are chilling and you want to listen to some more Stanford Sink, you've got a tasty beverage, I implore you to check out this video here, which is a video I released yesterday. It's kind of a match preview, but not really. What it is more is a conversation with my friend Rich, who is a staunch Burnley fan, and we went through Scott Parker, the tactics, the old Chelsea boys at Burnley and Leslie Ugochukwu and Armando Broja, and how they're getting on. It was a great conversation, so you should absolutely check it out. Nice one, guys. I hope you're having an absolutely wicked day. Take it easy. Peace.